Welcome, everyone. I am so excited for this webinar tonight with my new friend, Jim Papoulis, who's going to come on camera here in just a second. And we are delighted to do this webinar because this is very different than what you normally see of Noteflight, because we are literally just talking about how to make music with kids. And tonight's going to be an exploration of the songwriting workshop, but also an exploration and just a discussion and a demonstration of all the different ways that we can combine technology and creativity and songs, and just to get students actively creating music. And I'll tell you what brought this on is that at Noteflight, we have so many folks using Noteflight Learn with students, and we have so many possibilities. And we totally understand in this online hybrid model teaching, what's next, right? What do we do with composition with students, and how do we get students to learn to write songs? Because I'm a trumpet player. I never learned songwriting. I never learned composition. Like many music teachers, I have a music degree, but I never learned songwriting and composition beyond what I had to do for a grade in theory class. And so having the opportunity to really discuss how we as teachers can get students actively engaged in this is incredible. And I really am so truly delighted to be here with my new friend, Jim Papoulis, who I will say, you can read the website, you can read his jimpapoulis.com and see his bio. Obviously a well acclaimed composer in many ways, has written for film, written for choirs, written for all sorts of major artists, toured, incredible career. But what the bio won't tell you, what I've learned just in the past few days in preparing for this with Jim, is he's one of the largest hearted souls that I've ever met, and someone that truly cares about making music with children and making music making accessible to kids. And he really has an art and a knack for it. And I'm just so excited, Jim, to be here with you and to have you share your gift with everyone who's watching this live and who's watching it later on the recording. So thank you, Jim, for being here. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so should I just jump right in and talk a little bit about the history of the songwriting?
Yeah, I guess the first question is, with this workshop, where did it come from? Why now? Why a digital book? Give us the background.
So briefly, most of the music, I think every single piece that I've ever written for choir comes from the vantage point of the person singing it. And the only way that I can be really certain that is coming from the vantage point of the person singing it is to write the songs with them. So for the last 20 years, I've been doing in-person songwriting workshops with groups. And typically it's a 1 or 2 session event, and I usually go and I'll visit the school and maybe do a choral concert in the middle, but basically it's 2 1.5 hour or 2 90-minute sessions of that order, and we create a song from scratch. And I've been doing this, I've done probably 20 or 25 a year for the last 20 years on all continents and all states, and I work with homeless children and fantastic professional choirs, run-of-the-mill middle schools and higher, all levels, from no musical ability to lots of music ability. And I found that it's been an incredible way for me, and I'm honored to have had this opportunity to have been with so many children and youth and young high school people, and create a song together. And it's very simple. I mean, I've learned over the years how I can make them, most importantly, feel really comfortable with me and safe and non-judged, and have it be a forum for them to be able to really express their feelings and have their voice heard. That was what it started with. And so what I've done is I go and I write the song, and then I would bring a portable recording studio and record them a cappella, and then bring it back to my studio and produce the track and then give them a done single. What's happened recently is that a lot of those have become now published songs. So it's really a collective sort of activity with me and this youth. When COVID happened, I had many concerts, obviously like everyone else, cancel, and songwriting workshops cancel. And I thought, wow, I had heard about this thing called Zoom, that I had never heard of before March 12th. I thought, God, I don't know if I could really do one, but I think it's actually now is a really important time to give youth an opportunity to have their voice heard and to collectively do something. So through the Foundation for Small Voices, we set up a number of of Zoom songwriting sessions. We did it every Thursday for the first 10 weeks of COVID, and the results were just incredible. And choirs that didn't even know each other were doing it, and it became an amazing forum online to do this. And then I started meeting with a lot of choral directors groups, and they said, "Oh my gosh, it's happening so fast. Life is changing in front of our eyes. What can we do?" And the bottom line is, what do we all want to do as educators? We want to engage the youth. We want to give them music. We want to keep them interested. We want to do something that's different and keep them excited about music. And a lot of that was like, okay, we can talk about music theory and what they did over the summer, but then what happens? So I asked them, I said, what can I as a composer do to help you? And they said, well, how about if you can give us a way to do these songwriting workshops and let us do them, but can you give us some templates that are different chord-wise, that aren't normal sort of chords, that can maybe be a little more evocative for these kids and a little hipper and something. And if you could give us these templates and then give us a detailed way, and from what you've learned, what helps these kids write a song. So I decided, okay, I'm going to create a curriculum. So I've done just that, talking to hundreds of choral directors. Here's what we want. We need to tell us what to do in the sense of leading us, but then let us go with it. So it's 6 sessions that can be anywhere from 1 day to 3 days. You can make it a whole semester. You could do it right away. Some people say if they designate maybe 20 minutes for the songwriting, they might do part of a session, and then at the end you have a completed, done song, recorded and mixed, and it's just incredible. And then so that's sort of the template that I've put together. So I put on, in my experience for the last 20 years, into a hopefully concise way of finding out, of showing choral directors how you can make this happen with your students. That's sort of the background of it.
Oh, Jim, that's you hit on so many incredible things here, and a couple points I wanted to highlight that you said. Two really major important things is that, first of all, what you're doing is based out of the need, but it's truly unique to the now. And as music teachers go from classroom ensemble-based teaching to individualized musical teaching, online, hybrid, at a distance, even if you're in person, that's the biggest shift. And so having opportunities to keep kids actively engaged in music and give them something they're proud of, like a song they wrote, is super, super beneficial. So I love that this is relevant and practical, and it's based on actual need and feedback, and it's what we need this semester, and it's what we need going forward. And I do love that. So the authenticity is there. The second thing you hit on, and you said it very early on, and I just been repeating it in my head because I want to write it down and save it, is you just made a case for why we teach music, right? Why music should stay in schools online, why music should stay in schools in person, because you said you wanted to songwriting with students lets them know that they're safe, they're comfortable, and their voices are heard, is what you said. And that's what music education is, and that's why it matters in schools. And so I love the fact that you're hitting on both of those with this. We're gonna go through the session step by step for everyone, so you see the method, and we'll talk about Noteflight. A couple housekeeping things. If you have questions, or even if you have a thought or an idea that you want us to know as we go, like, yes, that's great, or no, I think this instead, use the questions feature in the panel that you see, because we will be able to print all those questions and look at them and analyze them as well. So please just throw questions out, even if it's not a question, if it's just feedback on something, because we want to look at that. And I know Jim wants to see your thoughts as well. You'll also get a survey at the end where you can free form share any information you want based on what you saw. So just please feel free to load us up. So Jim, let's start out first to clarify for everyone watching, what is the workshop? The Jim Papoulis Songwriting Workshop for Choirs is a digital book offered through Hal Leonard Publications. And this is available on halleonard.com, and you have a link to this. And so this is a digital book, and when you purchase this book, you get full digital access to the entire book, and we're gonna walk through this step by step here in a second. You also get, with the digital book, you get all of these extended resources. So you get these audio files for each of the 8 templates that are included. And so you can listen to the full mix audio or the different tracks of audio. You also get PDFs of the templates that you can print and play as you need. You also get music XML files, and we're going to be soon offering Noteflight files of all of this content, plus bonus Noteflight content, including embedded piano parts and additional pieces that we'll be talking about soon. So this digital book is a digital book that I'll show that works on any device you have access to forever, but it has all of these additional resources that you can use, and we're going to demo those as we go. Jim, anything you want to add to what the product is?
No, and so basically what I've done is I've produced the tracks. Typically they have bass, drums, keyboards, maybe some strings, some percussion, some shake, whatever it might be. So you have all those individual tracks by themselves, and you also have a full mix. So in case you want to just hear the bass or just hear the piano, and or maybe take out some of the drum here and there, you're absolutely welcome to do that. And what's also I love about it is that you can slow it down, you can speed it up, you can change the key. I mean, it's just it's just a really fun way to engage the youth in that. So there's they have a playback, and you can decide the full mix, the piano, whatever. So they're all separate tracks, which I think is gives you some flexibility.
Right, and this is the Howler player that plays all the audio, and this is your pitch and speed settings, or you could just download these tracks and mix them in your own DAW as needed, including with kids' voices. So, well, let's go through and dig into the book. So this is the digital book, and I'll kind of scroll through. Do you want to kind of walk us through the different sections of the
Sure.
Let's
workshop? Go to session one. Let's go to session one, and that's basically. I like to, this is a question that you want to get them thinking, you want to get them talking, you want to get their ideas percolating. So I like to start with, what is a song? If we're going to write a song, tell me what a song is. And that immediately things start flying. You get all kinds of answers. You know, it's poetry sets the music. It's internal thought that you're afraid to talk about, but you can sing about. It's a message that you want to create. It's something you want to stand up for. It's something that you want to rise up for. It's something that you feel is important to you. It's an inner thought that you didn't want to share. I mean, there's so many ideas that come out of this, and it just blows me away, the content of some of the answers. And I'm sure it'll blow anybody away when you ask this to a group of students. So basically defining what a song is, and deciding what is the arena of what you want to write about. Is it going to be about what I'm going through? Is it about what society's going through? Is it about what I've remembered? I mean, there's all kinds of things we can write about, but to get that sort of general idea of, okay, let's write a song about, you know, the environment, or let's write a song about inner feelings, or inner struggles, or whatever it might be. So you get the overall theme, and kind of choose. You might want to listen to the templates after you've decided this and say it's going to be a melancholy song, or it's going to be an up-tempo, really exciting song, whatever it might be. And then you go and you figure out what it might be, and then you pick a template and you go from there. So that's sort of the idea of the first song, and that can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, or an hour and a half, however long you want to spend on that. So that's sort of session one. Okay.
I love this. As from the teacher heart in me, I would take these goals, and if this is a lesson plan, just screaming off the page. So these goals and objective could be, this could be something in a Google Doc that could be shared through Google Classroom. This could be set up in Canvas or Schoology or Moodle or Blackboard, whatever learning management system you're using. But I love that you have these discussion questions to help guide, and I love that you have this opportunity here, this discuss, choose, create, brainstorm, and so you even have some assessments built in as well, which is important. So this is like ready-made, and I think, like you said too, this could be an in-person Zoom live chat. This could be an asynchronous lesson where these are set up as discussion questions for students to think and turn in, or even collaborate in small groups. And these can be adapted, right? So before we get into the other sessions, I want to think about, how would an elementary teacher use this versus a middle school teacher versus a high school teacher? Because this is adaptable from general music elementary all the way through an AP theory class, right?
Yep.
So you want to go into session two, or?
Let's go into session two. And session two is basically defining the narrative, which is really saying, okay, this is the story. And I like to ask the students, and I say it in there. Let's talk about what it is. And a lot of times I don't want them to get into worrying about, oh, I want to say this lyric and it has to rhyme with this. I would rather get the overall narrative and have them describe it. So once you get the arena of what you were talking about, I said, who would like to just free talk for a minute in a completely non-judged atmosphere? Tell me what you think that the song should say. Well, it's about the fact that I've heard a lot of this recently, the fact that, you know, not all voices are heard in society. I think it's really important to have respect and to have everyone be able to lift each other up. And, you know, so just that, and I have them, okay, now what do you think? And someone else uses it in their words. And now as a teacher, you should be writing down all these ideas, because it's incredible. I mean, in 1 hour with 50 third graders, I could have the material to write about 50 songs. I mean, what they say is just incredible. So you will be able to have, I mean, you'll have too many ideas. You're gonna have to weed them out, which is really encouraging, especially now, because a lot of the students have a lot of internal dialogue. They're used to running to school and going to this and going to that practice, and now they have some time to actually think, and they're actually really more innovative and more thoughtful than I would have expected. So we basically create the narrative, decide what it is, and maybe start getting into a little bit of the lyrical content of the story. That's basically session 2.
I love it. And from our national standards of music, our national core art standards, I mean, we talk about create, perform, respond, connect, but we are connecting first, right? Connecting and responding, then we get to creating, then we get to performing. So you're covering all the national standards here as well, which is super beneficial. Let's jump into session 3, continue the story.
All right, so session 3 is continuing the story and starting to write a melody, okay? Now, a lot of you who might not be composers might think, well, you know, what am I gonna do? But when you hear chords, especially youth, maybe we're a little more guarded as adults, but I found especially the younger, like the elementary, I mean, they just start singing, oh my gosh, I hear this line here and I hear this line there. So they start developing a melody. I think it's kind of nice to get to the refrain of the song, to decide on what the title of the song is going to be, because a lot of times once you write the refrain, I think that the verse just evolves out of that naturally. So on number 3, you're locking in a little bit of the idea of the lyrics, getting that first line, like how are we going to start the song? How are we going to tell our story? And then sort of humming the melody and having people try it and see how it feels, and then filling in the blanks with lyrics. And then it's really important to have on a whiteboard or whatever you're working with all the thoughts that these students have had, because then you can just take those thoughts and, like pastel colors, just paint them as lyrics, and it will just naturally evolve that way. So that's basically that section. So by the end of session 3, you pretty much have the melody of the refrain, you have the idea and the lyrics starting to lock in on verse 1 maybe, and then moving on from there. So it's really starting to develop at that point. And I constantly emphasize the fact that this is a safe place. You can say whatever you want. If you say something silly, it might trigger something in this person. So don't ever just like let it out. That's the way we are in a welcome environment. It's really important to emphasize that.
I love that too, because every music teacher knows that your music classroom is that safe physical space. And when kids walk in the music room, every music teacher I know, we stand by the door and how are you doing? Hey, how are you? How are you? Like that's what the music class is, you know, it's choir or orchestra. And so the struggle is, how do we recreate that online? But through this songwriting process and through this collaborative songwriting process, we can create that safe space again in the digital world, which I really, really love here. Let's jump to session 4, making musical decisions.
All right, so now we get into a little bit more. We're getting to the harmony. We're talking about what can craft a song. We're talking about harmony, dynamics, texture. Do we want to do a counter melody? Maybe the more advanced choirs, those high school singers can write a nice descant over the refrain. Talking about let them start fooling around with harmonies. So you have the melody, then you have all the however many parts you have on your voicing, you have them start to fill in those blanks, and they will do it naturally. Once they hear that melody, they can harmonize very quickly, and they can do it. And a lot of the younger kids, maybe they will prefer to do a descant over the top of it. And you can be as in depth technically as you want. Or it can just be a free form of like, okay, what do you feel? What do you hear? I'm not worried that that's a minor sixth over that melody. It's just like, this is what I'm hearing. Let's try that, and in a welcome way, and then start recording it. And what I love about Noteflight is that you can actually record that right in. And the students can do that too, or is it just the instructor?
Everyone. Yeah.
See, that's just amazing. So you can have multiple tracks, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna get into all this here in a minute, because I think you're hitting on, like, this is where it really gets fun. Let's get through session 5 and 6, and then we'll make some music with the template.
Okay, so number 5 is kind of a revision and reflection. Just like any piece of art, set it back, put it up on the on your drawing board and say, okay, what does it look like? What do we like about it? What don't we like about it? What could we change? Let's reflect on the experience. Let's talk about what we've all learned, how we've learned to listen to each other, how we've learned to create our voices together, and kind of refine it. And you know, if it's a painting, now you're going around and you're doing the edges and you're really making it, owning it to be your own. And then session 6 is getting into the performance and the record of it. Now the recording you can either do it on Noteflight or sometimes I have the students do it on their iPhones on voice memo, and they have all their individual voices, and then you can mix it together and it turns into one, you know, to a produced song. So that's in a nutshell, in a pretty quick nutshell, what the songwriting and what the curriculum is, and it walks you through how to do that.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, Soundtrap's another good digital audio workstation to bring together multiple audio files. Noteflight integrates with Soundtrap, so you could compose in Noteflight. It'll send that composition to Soundtrap as a MIDI track, and then you can layer your audio right on top of it. So lots of cool things.
You could take all the elements then, all the elements from the templates and put those in on individual tracks and have it all separate, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, we're getting some really good feedback now. You know, I think we're hearing there's also an extension for like language arts and other curriculum areas too, and like cross curricular here as well, especially when we're writing and we're thinking about songwriting and just lyrics and bringing in the world. I mean, there's a history link, there's connection as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oftentimes we'll have an English class send in some poems, and we'll try to maybe integrate that in. I mean, that could be a part of it as well, to integrate other parts of the school into it as well. Yes.
And we'll get into this too, but instrumental as well. I mean, this is geared towards choirs, but every kid in music right now can write a song, and or they can just write a melody with their instrument. But I think every student should understand this concept. So this is, while it is for choirs, that this would really work. I mean, elementary all the way through high school on any instrument. So I want to share a couple of the templates. You mentioned that you have all of these various templates, and I'll just go back and show so everyone knows. In the actual digital locker that you get once you purchase this, you have access to PDFs and XML files of all of these templates. So I'll just kind of go and show you where these are in the How I Learned My Library, which is where you access this content. But we also will have all of these available in Noteflight. So we've pulled all of these songwriting templates in Noteflight, and these will all be downloadable next week in here. So we have all the 8 templates in here, and I've pulled up a couple. What we've done for Noteflight is we've included these really cool piano parts, right? And Jim graciously wrote out these piano parts so we can kind of play along and have an experience here. So you want to talk through the template structure, because I know they all follow a similar form, but they all do try to cover different sort of genres and feels and styles.
Yes. So typically a lot of the songs is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. That's 99% of the songs that they listen to on the radio. So I like to kind of have it be a familiar area, but I try to use chords that are evocative and that will light up some ideas in them. So I'm not using regular old 1, 4, 5 kind of chords. I'm trying to expand the palette of what they're thinking about. So I've used some different kinds of chords with that might not be normal sounding chords, but that will hopefully open up a whole world of creativity to them. I've written the chords. Some of them are a little bit more difficult from the standpoint of, you know, C7 sharp 9, but you can just hear it. So you can either dig into what that is technologically and from a music theory standpoint, or you can just say, hey, I just want to listen to it and see where I go, because that's also a nice way to be able to create. So I think we're going to start with template 1, I'm guessing. So yep. It's so if you want to, do you want to play the piano part, or you want to play a few seconds of the full mix, whatever you want to do?
Yeah, let's start with the full mix, and I'll just echo. I will say, just as I've dug into this method and looked at it, I love the harmonies you hear, because as an improviser and as someone just to try to, as a student trying to find their voice spiritually, emotionally, and musically, right? What you have here is a basis that makes it so easy. So this is my favorite part. So let me go back to my library for How I Learned. Let me go in the audio, and I'm just going to play a little bit of the full mix of number 1. Then we'll take it to the Noteflight side. So let me see if I can. just a little bit. So again, amazingly produced audio, Jim. That's really, really great stuff. And do students often just kind of freeform sing over that to inspire ideas, or how can just the audio be used to get started?
Well, so once you get the idea of what you're going to be writing about, I mean, let's say you have the name of the hook. So, for example, if you're talking with a choir and they say, we want to write about, I don't know, give me a topic, give me anything. What would your choir want to be writing about?
Uh, I'm really obsessed with digital citizenship right now. How students find themselves and their voice in an online world.
Okay, so maybe the title might be, I'm trying to find who I am. I don't know. It could be anything. It could be, so whatever that lyric might be, you go to the refrain part of it and you go. Now you might want to go over to the piano part because there's a little bit of gating happening when you're playing that. I understand. I was listening when I heard it. So maybe if you go to your piano part in Noteflight, why don't we start there? Okay. And let's just start with the beginning. So there's a little intro for 4 bars. It sets the tone, and then you might start picking out a melody on top of that. Once again, this is after you've been into session 3, so you know what your song is about. You know the parameter. You know the poetry. You have maybe when you're doing it, you can have the words listed on the side. Say, okay, how are we going to start with this? And then you start humming a melody over it. So if you're going to play the verse, why don't you just hum a melody over it, and we'll try to put some words on it.
Yeah, we can even. I'll start right here and just kind of get a playback going.
Okay.
I love those little breaks that you do. It's in all of those things. Sorry, this is so cool.
Okay. So you might want to start saying, okay, is the melody going to be long? Is it going to be love? I mean, it could be anything, and you're going to let them come up with it. And once again, I used to think that I was going to have to spoon feed them some things, but basically my job is to have to filter out all the ideas. It is just overwhelming. And I've done enough of these to know that my job is to filter out because there's so much content there. It's not like, oh my God, is anyone going to sing anything? Once they get that comfort level, and then you can say, okay, let's get to the refrain. Let's think of the verse. Let's write out the lyrics. Let's fill in the blanks. And then they all take it and riff from there. So when you get to the chorus, now what was the name of your song? I can't remember the name of it. What
I
did you say?
can't remember. We were riffing on digital citizenship, so we can come up with a name if we want.
All right, that's a tough title, but
or just finding yourself. Like I want to find myself, or I want to know myself, or something along those lines.
So what I would ask them to sing, I want to know who I am. Let's just call it that. Okay, I want to know who I am. So play letter B for a minute, just the first 4 bars. All right, now that could be, I want to know who I am. So play it again.
Let me go back and click back to letter B here.
Yeah. So yeah, could be, or it could be, I want to know, or I want to know who I want to know who I. It could be that. It could be rhythmic like that. There's a million different ideas, and it also could be both. So if one person's saying, I hear a long melody, you maybe have the sopranos do the long melody. I want to know who I am. I want to know that. So it's like back and forth, and it just comes out so organically, and it's just so beautiful to watch. And I am just in awe, I'm thinking, well, I just need a lot of kids to write music because they've helped me write so many of my songs. So anyway, that's sort of basically how it's done. And then if you want to put that into Noteflight, it's easy enough. We don't have to get into the notation now, but obviously you can just type it in, and then they can naturally see the notes going on the page, and like, oh, that's all it is. There it is. Okay. And once you put it in Noteflight, there it is, and then you can expand on it from there.
Right. We can just type in some notes here. We can do get our notes here. We'll go ahead and remove all the slashes in here and create like a opportunity to make this a dotted note. I'll delete it, and then we'll
Right.
move over. So we kind of did something like this, right? I'm just
So
making these
3/8
short
notes,
notes.
up, right.
I think we did like a dotted quarter here, right? Da 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 da, something like that,
I think
right?
it'd be hipper to make it not a dotted quarter note. I would make it a quarter note tied to an eighth note. Ba-da-da-bum, bum, bum, beam. Okay.
Oh, I like it, like da 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 da. Okay, so we're gonna do an eighth note here. C,
And then eighth
do
note
a
tied to
quick
an eighth note.
tie,
Yeah, there you go.
make that an eighth note, and then I'll go ahead and make this another note naked. Da da da
Correct.
da da da, and then come up here.
Right. And I found that when you syncopate like that naturally, now once again you're getting into the note of it, and some elementary kids might think, I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to sing it. But I've found that, if you just simply went, I want to know who I am, it's completely non-grooving. But if it's boom, 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 zim, right, that will groove. So once you hear the drums and then you go back and listen to the full mix, you might hear and then it'll come out of that. And they'll do that. They will write hit melodies with a lot of syncopation.
I love it. Actually, we kind of stumbled across the same sort of syncopated rhythm we use in the first two beats in the piano. I wanted to show the recording piece of Noteflight because this is something we chatted about the other day. If let's say that a student's like you sang like 8 awesome variations of what we could do. If a student just wants to play, these templates can be assigned in Noteflight. Each student gets their own copy in Noteflight Learn. They can go to this record option, and let's pretend I haven't written these notes out yet and I'm just riffing. I can, as a student, just play and riff a little bit, and just record and see let it capture what comes out of my brain, right? Like, da 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 ba, like that. Ba da 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 ba ba. And Noteflight's recording the audio, so that you can listen back, try different things. If you hate it, delete it. If you like it, notate it, right? So that's a really cool experience, combining the recording and the notation right here, right?
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
love it. And the other thing that's cool about that is that if a student does that, and then you write in the notes, they automatically start learning about literacy. Just it's automatically, because when they hear it and they do it, and they think, oh my gosh, I sang that. That's amazing. You write it down, because that's what one of the kids said to me once, like, those were my notes, and I said, yeah, and I just went up and wrote it on the board, and they were very impressed. But you learn intuitively that way, which is a wonderful way to do it. Yeah.
we have a lot of full districts that utilize Noteflight K-12, and I could totally see, like, especially with the younger students, if they could just drill them like da 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 da, whatever they come up with, maybe they could share that Noteflight score with the older student who then dictates it for them, and we can do some pairing up of students, and that's how we can get students in different age ranges involved.
I love it. A music theory assignment.
Magical.
Transcribe what the younger kids have done. That's a great idea, actually.
Transcribe an 8-year-old. No, that's a music theory assignment right there. No, that's incredible. Do you want to do anything with this one? You want to jump to the next template?
Let's go into the next template. And so I've tried to create a number of different templates that are different vibes, that might be a little bit younger oriented, a little bit older oriented. And what I've done is the first 6 templates are pretty much song templates, and templates 7 or 8 are kind of like bonus tracks. They're kind of a little bit more interpretive, a little weirder. They're not in a form. Maybe you could write some poetry. You could do some beat poetry over it. You could do some singing and some rap. You could do whatever you want. It's sort of in a more of an not quite avant-garde, but less formulaic. It's just more for maybe the older students that can combine poetry. We might want to play a little of that audio at the end, maybe of 7 and 8, but let's do it with 2 for a minute. So it might look a little intimidating, but it's really not. It's really not at all.
Yeah.
And this is kind of yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, if you want to start with 2, and maybe play a little of that and see what happens.
Yeah, let's jam out on the full mix first, and then we can go to the notation. And these are so great. I was gonna say that for some of the taught elementary, middle, high school music, like having this type of template, I love this because when you open it, it might look like, oh my gosh, an F sharp 7 sharp 5, but none of that really matters. The fact it sounds hip, it's very, very relevant to kids. Like this is the kind of thing I think kids would love to sing to, right?
hmm
Um,
So yeah, now can you shuffle so it's kind of a hip hoppity swing because it's not like bop 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 bop, but it's bugga da down, chicka doo got down, ga da. It's kind of laid back. So do you have a swing feature in Noteflight?
yeah, for sure. And in fact, we could swing because the 16th, the ba da da da, we could swing the 16th a little bit
I
to
would
give
swing
that
it
a
even
little.
left, just a little more to the left. I've found just a touch. Let's see what that sounds like.
All right, let's see what that does on the. Oh wow, yeah, that makes a huge difference. Da da da. It's like a viola player played it. Just kidding. Jim, I have a musical question for you. With you use these really, really cool breaks, and you do them. The form is so there, like 4 bars, right? Like a verse, 3 measures, then this cool break. Do you tend to find that this is really like guiding students to like a verse and a melody that fits a nice like 3 bar, and like those type of harmonic breaks give the melody some rest? Do kids naturally like not want to put words there?
You know what? It depends on the group. They might want to go never dunga zunga zunga bam. I mean, maybe, or they can let it rest. But I've tried to create rhythms and chords that are evocative of creating ideas and that aren't normal sounding and that don't sound like every other song that you've heard and are not sing-songy because so many students, especially middle school and high schoolers, they want to do things that are really kind of hip and fun and cool and they want to be proud of it. So I tried to listen to what they've said and I've tried to do that. So yeah, it really depends on the mood of the session that day. I can't really answer that blanketly like that.
No, it's just that's totally fine. I think it's I love these because these can be used year after year, and I think every class that these are used with comes up with something very different and special to that class, which I think is
hmm
really cool. This one in particular, I really love what you did with the chorus, and I want to play the chorus a little bit because you have that bugga da 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 all that, but then we get to the chorus and the whole texture just like completely changes here. Right? So
Yeah.
what to me this does is having this really cool texture and really hit bass line. A young student or even an older student that doesn't really know a lot about songwriting, it gives them plenty of space to just sing like one note, long, simple melodies, or they could be really complex within that. There's so
Yes.
much freedom here, you know?
I have a question for you about Noteflight. So can the students access all this as well, or is it
Yeah,
just with the
so
teacher?
oh no, this teachers can fully edit these in Noteflight. So we're providing these as Noteflight templates, and I'm in a Noteflight account right now. So as a teacher, you could decide to share this whole piece. A teacher could make as many copies as they want. We could just copy this all day long. I'll make a copy right now.
Okay.
That way they could create different versions of it, different keys. But a teacher, when they assign it to students, they can go in and just essentially assign it to their students or their class, and they can send them this link. And when a student opens this, the student gets their own unique copy of this particular Noteflight score.
The reason I'm asking is that I know that I have, and I'm sure most of you directors, there's a lot of kids who are shy to speak up, even in a forum of a session in school. And if they can have this ability to record on their own, they might be much more willing to kind of loosen up a little bit and let out and give them that freedom and then come back and listen to what they've done. I mean, that intrigues me a lot about being able to record their vocal right into it. I think that would be a really good forum for them to feel empowered to have their voice heard, you know?
No, yeah, for sure. We're getting a lot of questions about, about simple melodies and how to get kids to write melodies on top. And I just want to kind of address that because a lot of the questions we're seeing, and I can tell you, like coming from someone that learned music in a very traditional way, this approach is to me, different than what we're used to as music educators in a traditional sense. And we're very much to like used to teach the music, right? But what I love about this is I would encourage everyone that's asking questions about how to make simple melodies and simplify this. This is in fact quite simple. And I think one thing that I take away from this that's really valuable is that we don't have to have kids write songs based on their knowledge of music theory or even our own knowledge of music theory, right?
Absolutely.
Kids write songs based on their hearts and their voices. And
Yes.
that's what you've produced here, Jim. Can you maybe elaborate on that more? We're getting a lot of questions of like, how do the kids write simple melodies? How do I do this with Noteflight? But I think it is simplified in that sense. Can you elaborate some?
It is. Well, I think that once again, you will be very surprised, as I have been hundreds of times, how creative kids are when they hear a groove and they start singing over it. But if for some reason you feel like, oh my gosh, no one's singing anything, pick the tonic and just do kind of a speaking talk over that. So for example, there's the melody. I want to sing on the melody and use some interesting rhythm, and then maybe start with the tonic, and if they're really that, I've never actually encountered that in my 500 workshops that I've done. I've never encountered that, but in case you do, maybe you'll come with that. Just start with the tonic and have them start speaking some, and if it's a groove like this, say, hey, loosen up the rhythm. You could start with quarter notes. Bum, 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 bum. Now funk that up a little. And just start with that, and then have someone else riff on that and say, oh, maybe you want to go up a little bit, maybe you want to go down a little bit, but start with the tonic. And once again, I always ask this. I said, is there any wrong addition to the song? And the answer is absolutely not. It's whatever someone's feeling, that's what they're feeling. So if they're doing it, let them go with it. So start with the tonic if you think it, you're worried about it. But I'm telling you, they will just come up with the stuff. It's incredible. And if not, have them come up with a word, and then you sing a little melody over it, and just give them a little bit of a lead time, and then they'll run with it and go from there.
Man, I love that so much. And I'll also say that, there's so many extensions here, like, teaching recorder. We do so much recorder in elementary school, but like, these are and a lot of people are asking like this, the connection to Noteflight. So I want to say again, these templates will be downloadable from the digital library, and you can upload them right in Noteflight. In fact, there's XML files right now that you can use, but we're going to give you the Noteflight files. You can import, share with your students. A couple people have asked about copyright. As part of purchasing this Song Workshop digital book, you have the rights to use all of these templates freely, right, Jim? Like
Correct.
You can use these as much as you want with your students. We're offering a Noteflight with piano parts, and we're going to be offering additional materials. But the cool thing is these are also transposable and editable. If I was teaching recorder, I would take this thing down a step and make that an A7 to a D7, and I would have those kids that are playing A and C and just have them ba 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 two 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 two. They could just jam on that all day, Like
Okay.
these are totally make these work for different band instruments. If we're doing strings, like string players could come up with different, just find that minor third or whatever that little melody is or single note. These are completely adaptable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
There's so much extension. Again, honestly, like this could be the entire fall semester for any music teacher, straight up. These are just fantastic. Anything else to add on this one? Do you want to go show some more?
I think that's it. If you maybe, I mean, it's 7:14 now. If you want to, well, however long we're going, but if you want to maybe play just a tiny bit of maybe number 7, just to kind of see a different sort of palette. It's maybe for the less traditional sort of people.
Yeah, and I can play the audio. We don't have the piano part for this.
Yeah, no, the audio
for
the full mix. I mean, the full mix. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, because I know 7 and 8 tend to be more freeform, right?
Yeah, just to give you an idea, maybe just a few seconds of the full mix.
Yep.
All right, that's enough. Just to give it. There's a lot of gating going on. I don't know if anyone else is hearing what I'm hearing, but
we're hearing the gating. It doesn't come through for me, but something's happening between what
Okay,
I'm.
but anyway, just to give you an idea, just to give you an idea, so it's a little more. I mean, I'm using some tablas, some different instruments, some other textures, more of a drone setting that evocative of maybe some poetry or some spoken word or something that will just take you out a little bit. So that's just something a little bit different if you want something different. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of showing just the notation. It kind of just has this sort of groove on E5 and E7.
But yeah. So ba daga daga gada da zu daga duga gada zaga doon daga, kind of like a droney kind of a thing, and then maybe it will, just to give another palette, a couple other palettes. Yes.
And I love that you have the different templates because you give us the SATB, and those are all out here. So I mean, these are primed to just have students write for whatever need they have, And again, all of these are available, and you have all the audio tracks, as well as some people asked about PDFs. You can download PDFs of these templates,
Yep.
or you can download, and all these XML files will go right into Noteflight. We will have a Noteflight section in here. Maybe let's talk about that, because the Noteflight content will be added. And Jim, you have graciously offered to add more content that anyone who purchases this workshop will just get this as you put it out in the future, right?
Yeah, I'm going to do one a month that can be for Noteflight people, with new templates. And also, if I hear any ideas that people say, hey, I wish we could have this, I'm going to look at those. So I encourage people to share with me. I think you gave a website to my foundation, and I can get ideas from you, and then I will go from there. So yeah, I'll be doing one a month starting actually next week on October 1st is the first new one that comes out. That will be for Noteflight people.
That's incredible. And then actually, you want to share? I'll put that email in the chat right now for everyone. Is it youngvoices@gmail? Is
No,
that the one?
small voices
Small
at
voices.
gmail.com. Yep.
Sorry about that.
And any ideas, comments, questions, wishing I had this. I mean, I'll try to look at all the responses if I can, and I'll take everything into consideration for sure.
Right. So a lot of questions coming in on just to remind folks. So the digital book, the Jim Papoulis Songwriting Workshop for Choirs, is available on howleonard.com, right? And you buy the digital book, you get the full digital book with the entire method, all the sessions and everything laid out. You also get full access in Hal Leonard's My Library to all of the different audio files and PDFs. This is where the Noteflight content will be. So you do have to purchase the digital book to get the content. And then if you're using Noteflight, you can import this into Noteflight Learn. And we will have all of this as a nice clean folder for you to have access to. You can start doing this today, because you can take these XML files and put them right into Noteflight, but we're gonna have the piano parts that we're showing here on this webinar and other content that'll be available in my library, and we'll be able to do more and more with this. And of course, we'd love to, this is only the beginning of what we're gonna be able to really do in this partnership. Jim, any closing thoughts? I'm looking through some questions. A lot of people are super excited about all of this. Again, the smallvoices@gmail.com is directly sending Jim any feedback or requests, or if you'd like a song template, or if you have any feedback for Jim, you can send that directly to him at smallvoices@gmail.com. You'll also get a survey at the end of this webinar that you can fill out, and all of that feedback will go to Jim as well. So, and Jim's in this to really, I mean, I love the fact, Jim, that you are truly wanting to respond to teachers' need in the now and constantly give and help us all learn to write songs, right?
Yeah.
So, again, we're still getting a few questions on, how do we teach kids to write melodies from scratch? And, I think there's still a little bit of a misconception that because of these templates, that this is still only for students who know music theory and understand, but that's just not the case, right? They could literally just sing right over top of this.
It's not the case. I have so many teachers say, listen, there's no way you're going to be able to write a song with my fourth graders from where was I, in Iowa somewhere, and they go, this is not going to happen. I said, look, I promise you it's going to happen. And sure enough, I mean, it just, they come up with it. And if you're worried, you definitely don't have to know anything about music theory. All you have to do is listen and feel. I mean, everyone can feel. You see these 2-year-olds walking down the street singing. They're making up melodies as they're going along. So if you give them that template and give them the you might practice singing some melodies over it. I'm sure your teachers can do that. But if you say, oh, here's a melody, let's have you try it. What do you think about that? It's just is such an easy, natural thing for a human to do. And I've gotten that from so many teachers, and they said there's just no way. And then after the session, after an hour and a half, and the whole song was done, and they were just like, oh my God, I didn't realize they were so creative. So I just want to remind everybody that a lot of kids are really struggling right now, as you all know. And I think that I just want to be able to have them feel like they have a voice. Yes, they're learning music. Yes, they're in music class, but I want it to be something connecting to them, to people, to the universe, whatever it might be, because they feel connected with that. And you're making it in a pedagogical way. So that to me is hopefully what they will have the opportunity to be able to do.
I love hearing you talk about that, Jim, because one of the things we hear at Noteflight pretty regularly is that teachers will say, I gave access to Noteflight to my students, and they just composed this phenomenal, amazing thing, and they knew nothing about music. I don't know how they did it. And I love hearing that, because I laugh and say, actually, they knew a lot about music because they composed that awesome thing. Maybe they don't know how to label it. They might not be able to realize the figured bass for it, but they knew a heck of a lot of music, and they got it out, you know? And I think that's what you're getting at.
And I'm going to tell you one little anecdote. I was sitting in a diner in New York City, and there was a young 5-year-old sitting next to her mom and a lady, and the mom said, "Do you know what this lady does for a living?" And she said, "What?" And the mother said, "She teaches people how to sing." And the 5-year-old looked at her mother like she was crazy, and she said, "But everybody knows how to sing," you know. And it was just this beautiful moment of like, you know, it's like teaching someone how to walk. Like, you just open your mouth and you sing. There it is. And we need to remember that as educators. Like, it's such a natural thing, and not try to fit it in a certain box. Anyway, that's just, take that comment or leave it. But, you know, I think it's really important to remember that.
No, absolutely. And then again, this workshop that you put together, this digital book that walks us through and all these resources, they can be used in hundreds and hundreds of ways. And so I do want to mention that a lot of this is not solely Noteflight dependent. You can use this digital book however you need it. You can use the audio files in any digital workstation. You can use the XML and other notation products. You don't have to buy Noteflight to buy this method. I want to make that very clear. But, you know, being that Noteflight's a Hal Leonard company, and Hal Leonard's partnered with Jim to offer this book, and Hal Leonard, we distribute a lot of your music, you know, we really want to create a tighter partnership. So there's additional benefits to using Noteflight Learn, because we're adding additional content exclusive to Noteflight, and also Noteflight allows you to easily share this with your students and have the recording and all of the additional options. So that's what we're trying to present tonight. But again, this is a flexible method. And once you read through the book and see everything in here, there's a real aha moment very, very quickly. Jim, closing thoughts, final thoughts to the folks that are listening and watching tonight.
Just never underestimate the creativity of these kids. It's an amazing time, and it's an historic time in our lives. And giving them that opportunity, you'll just be blown away by what they come up with. I promise you.
Yeah, Jim, I can't thank you enough for first of all putting this together, and you know, getting this digital book. I know it's a lot of work to take 25 years of experience on the road and doing these workshops and manifest it into a book and get it out really quickly. So first of all, that's just a phenomenal feat in itself. Plus all the audio tracks you put together, and plus all of the editing and the song templates. It's just a real gift, and I think we really wanted, as soon as I found out about this less than a week ago. This has been, I think, what, 2 weeks published. We just got this up. I think it's 2 weeks today, barely. And as soon as I saw it, and as soon as I met Jim, I knew this is something we wanted to bring to the Noteflight audience ASAP. So Jim, thank you for all your hard work on this, and thank you everyone for watching. And from all of us here at Hal Leonard, thank you for everything you're doing to keep music education alive during this time. And I think Jim said it best. We create environments that make kids comfortable and safe and let them be themselves and find their own voice. And sharing this with you tonight, and the technology we offer and the content we offer and the people we work with like Jim, that's the true heart of what we're trying to do. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, music educators, and everyone. Stay safe, wear masks, and stay 6 feet apart. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.